Question 59, Fox and Lion-like Elites, as given by Vilfredo Pareto. Introduction. Pareto's elite theory in context. The Italian sociologist and economist Vilfredo Pareto, 1848 to 1923, is one of the chief architects of the elite theory. The idea that in every society power is concentrated in the hands of a small minority, the elite, while the majority, the masses, are governed by them. In his major work, The Mind and Society, 1916, Pareto developed the theory of the circulation of elites, explaining how ruling classes rise, decline, and are replaced over time. Within this larger theory, he made a famous distinction between two psychological types of elites, the lions and the foxes. These two types represent contrasting temperaments and methods of rule. According to Pareto, the balance and alternation between them ensures the stability and vitality of political systems. Meaning of the terms lions and foxes. Pareto used the metaphors lions and foxes to describe two psychological and political systems of leadership found among elites. Lions symbolize strength, conservatism, and force. Foxes symbolize cunning, adaptability, and manipulation. He borrowed these terms from Machiavelli, who in The Prince had said that a ruler must combine the strength of a lion with the cunning of a fox to maintain power. Pareto, however, treated these two qualities as distinct elite types dominating in different historical periods. 2. The lion-like elites. Characteristics. Lions are the traditional, conservative, and forceful rulers. They believe in authority, discipline, moral order, and stability. Their approach is rigid, straightforward, and uncompromising. They rely on coercion, power, and principles to maintain social order. Their leadership is marked by honor, loyalty, and moral integrity, but they often lack flexibility and adaptability. Psychological traits. They are courageous and morally upright, respectful of tradition and hierarchy, resistant to change or innovation, depend on force and authority rather than persuasion. Method of rule. Lions rule by strength, law, and coercion, not by compromise or manipulation. They maintain stability through fear and obedience. Examples: monarchies and military dictatorships represent lion-like rule. Leaders such as Napoleon Bonaparte, Bismarck, or even Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in his administrative firmness illustrate the lion-like temperament. The old aristocracy of Europe or the feudal elites of pre-industrial societies are lion-like in nature, maintaining order through loyalty and authority. Advantages. They provide stability and firm government, uphold traditions and social order, resist moral and political decay through discipline. Limitations. Intolerant of change and reform, rigid in outlook, unable to adapt to new challenges, may suppress liberty and innovation, leading to stagnation. Third, the fox-like elites. Characteristics. Foxes are the cunning, shrewd, and opportunistic leaders. They depend on intelligence, diplomacy, and manipulation rather than physical force. They are innovative, flexible, and pragmatic, but often lack moral conviction. They use deception, persuasion, and compromise to maintain power. Their rule is based on strategy, negotiation, and adaptability rather than authority. Psychological traits. They are clever and resourceful, diplomatic and persuasive, open to change and experimentation, self-serving, calculating, and opportunistic. Methods of rule. Foxes rule through tact and manipulation. They rely on alliances, propaganda, and public relations rather than coercion. They prefer corruption and diplomacy to brute force and maintain power through intellectual and political maneuvering. Examples: democratic politicians, bureaucrats, and technocrats who manipulate opinion and institutions. Leaders like Franklin D. Roosevelt, Jawaharlal Nehru, or modern populist leaders who rely on negotiation and media tactics reflect the fox-like type. In ancient history, Pericles of Athens or Machiavelli's prince are symbolic foxes. The advantages: they promote change and adaptability, skilled in negotiation and diplomacy, avoid violence through compromise. Limitations: lack of firm principles, prone to corruption, overuse of deceit undermines public trust, excessive manipulation weakens state authority. Fourth, alternation and circulation of elites. According to Pareto, societies oscillate between periods dominated by lions and period dominated by foxes. When lion-like elites rule too long, society becomes rigid and repressive, unable to adapt to change. This invites the rise of fox-like elites who use cunning and flexibility to overthrow or undermine the old order. However, when fox-like elites dominate excessively, society becomes corrupt, unstable, and morally weak, prompting a reaction that restores lion-like authority through revolution or authoritarianism. Thus, political stability depends on the balance between force and cunning, between authority and adaptability. Example 1. France. The rigid, conservative aristocracy, lions, was overthrown by the cunning revolutionary leaders, foxes, in the French Revolution. Later, Napoleon, a lion, restored authority. Example 2. Russia. The Tsarist regime, lions, was replaced by the Bolsheviks, foxes, after 1917. When corruption grew, Stalin, a lion-like ruler, reimposed discipline. Example 3. Modern democracies. Elected politicians and party elites often act like foxes, using propaganda and negotiation, but when crises arise, lion-like military or authoritarian figures emerge to restore order. Fifth, political significance of the fox-like distinction. Pareto's distinction explains how different types of leadership maintain political systems. Lions preserve order and discipline but risk stagnation. Foxes promote innovation and flexibility but risk decay and corruption. Healthy societies maintain a dynamic balance between the two. Excess of one leads to decline and the eventual circulation of elites, ensuring continuity of elite rule. Sixth, criticism of Pareto's typology. While Pareto's classification is insightful, critics have raised objections. First, it oversimplifies human leadership by reducing it to two psychological types. It ignores moral and ideological motivations, focusing only on power and instinct. It assumes cyclical inevitability, denying the role of rational planning or democratic participation. And finally, it may justify the elitism and authoritarianism, implying that masses can never truly govern. Despite these criticisms, Pareto's analysis remains valuable for understanding patterns of political leadership and change in all societies. Contemporary relevance. Pareto's fox and lion elites remain strikingly relevant in modern politics. In democracies, fox-like elites dominate. Politicians skilled in rhetoric, negotiation, and image building. During crises, wars, pandemics, or economic collapses, lion-like leaders often rise to power, promising strength and stability. Thus, from corporate leadership to party politics, Pareto's framework continues to explain how different temperaments rule and replace each other. Summary for quick understanding. Vilfredo Pareto's classified elites into two psychological and political types: lions who rule through force, tradition, and moral strength, and foxes who rule through cunning, manipulation, and diplomacy. Societies alternate between these two types. When lions dominate, rigidity grows; when foxes dominate, corruption spreads. This alternation produces the circulation of elites, the replacement of one ruling class by another, ensuring the continuity of elite rule. Quick revision note. Thinker Vilfredo Pareto. Work, The Mind and Society, 1916. Concept, circulation of elites. Types, lions, force, and foxes, cunning. Lions are conservative, rigid, moral, and strong. Foxes are diplomatic, adaptable, and manipulative. The cycles. Lions leads to rigidity, leads to foxes rise, and that leads to corruption, that leads further to new lions emerge. Significance. Explains political stability and change. Criticism. Simplistic, elitist, ignores masses. One-line questions and answers for revision. First, who classified elites as lions and foxes? Vilfredo Pareto. 2. What do lions represent? Strength, conservatism, and forceful authority. Third, what do foxes represent? Cunning, adaptability, and manipulation. Fourth, what is the main difference between them? Lions use power, foxes use persuasion. Fifth, what happens when lions dominate too long? Society becomes rigid and repressive. Sixth, what happens when foxes dominate too long? Society becomes corrupt and unstable. Seventh, what is the process of alternation between them called? It is called circulation of elites. Who inspired Pareto's analogy of foxes and lions? Niccolo Machiavelli. Ninth, which type of elite rules in democracies? Fox-like elites. 10. What ensures political stability according to Pareto? A balance between lions and foxes. Final connection. Pareto's fox and lion-like typology offers a profound insight into the psychology of power. Every society, he argued, alternates between strength and cunning, order and flexibility, morality and manipulation. Yet, power always remains in the hands of the elite. The moral lesson of Pareto's analysis is timeless. When societies lose balance, becoming too rigid under lions or too deceitful under foxes, they collapse, only to be rebuilt by the other type. Thus, the health of political life depends on the continuous renewal of leadership, the wise blending of the lion's courage with the fox's intelligence. Thank you very much for watching.